All right, so welcome everybody to the Dementia Knowledge Network for April. I nearly said March. Our meeting is being held on the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Sarah, shall I just continue with introducing our guest speaker today? I'll just
That'd be
scroll on.
lovely. Thank you.
I've got it in front of me. So Sarah Hopkins is the Corporate Manager for Customer Experience at Your Library, previously Eastern Regionals Libraries Corporation. Your library delivers the library service to the Knox, Maroondah and Yarra Ranges local government areas. There are 13 libraries, 3 reading rooms, a flexi vehicle and a historic homestead in the library network. And Sarah's job is to ensure the residents are receiving the best possible library service at all locations. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I'll throw to you now to kick off your presentation, if that's all right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth and Sarah, for inviting me. And the reason that I'm here today is not to talk about all the libraries and all the different things that we've got, but to talk about a very small component of our library collection, which is called the Dementia Resource Collection. It's not terribly well known collection, but it is freely available through our library service to anybody who wishes to become a library member. But I'm sorry, Naomi, you do have to borrow in person, which probably means Perth is not an option. But maybe you can lobby one of your local libraries to get something similar if you think it will be good. So I'm going to share my screen and talk to my PowerPoint slides. I'm going to talk a little bit about the library service in general, because when I talk about the library these days, it doesn't matter what I say, or really this has been going on for a long time. People will say, oh, the library does so much more than it used to. I feel like it's kind of always doing new things. So I'll talk just a bit generally about the library, and I'm assuming that people are in the area where our libraries are. And then I'll talk about the Dementia Resource Collection, specifically how you can go about finding it. And then I'll talk about a few other things that we have in the libraries that you might like to know about. And if you want to ask questions, maybe we should do that at the end. I'm just thinking, well, I've got my screen and my slides, and I'm not sure that I'm up to reading the chat at the same time. So let's see how we go. I'm going to just get my slide up. Okay, so I'm assuming that you're seeing something that says Your Library Dementia Resource Collection, and at the bottom I've listed all the physical branches that we have in the Your Library network, which is all the public libraries in the City of Knox, the City of Maroondah and the Shire of Yarra Ranges. And at the start of last year, we took over Historic Miller's Homestead in Boronia, which we are running as a space where we can hold the sorts of events that we'd like to hold in all our libraries, but we really don't have the room because most of our space is taken up by books and computers and desks and things. But it really is a lovely location if you haven't been there or you don't know about it. It's a 1880s farmhouse on half an acre of land. It's in Boronia, but it's really at the basin end of Boronia. So it's at the foothills of the Dandenong Ranges. It's got a veranda that goes all the way around it. And one of the things that we have found since we started running our programs there is that lots of people just like to come there as a place to be, to have some peace. It's got a real sense of quietness and serenity about it. So we've actually had lots of visits from aged care facilities and from groups that are looking for things to do in the community, just somewhere to go to be. So that might be something that's interesting to your network, just as a totally different form of service that the library is offering. And I don't know how local people are here, but the library in Ringwood, you may or may not know, located at Eastland Shopping Centre, is known as Realm, and that is actually the library where we hold the Dementia Resource Collection. So if you hear me talking about Realm, that's what I mean, that the library in Ringwood. Okay, so I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the library as a whole organisation and what we have. So apart from our traditional services, which is books for loan and places to study and computers and access to the internet, We also have a really big digital collection. We have about 75,000 ebooks, which you can download onto whatever device you use to read ebooks. You get them for a loan like anything else, but after your loan period is up, they just disappear into the ether. So you never have to bring them back. They're never overdue. They can't get lost. The dog can't eat them, any of those things. So that ebook collection is a really growing part of public libraries now. And then the smaller collection that part of our digital offering is our audiobook collection. So they're the books that are being read to you. You know, there used to be books on tape, then they're books on CD, now they're books in the cloud. It's the same deal. You just download them through your app and the book will be read to you, mostly unabridged, so cover to cover. You get the exact same reading experience that you would get if you are reading were reading a printed book. So for people who can no longer hold a book, no longer turn pages, but are interested in stories or, you know, like narrative, then that's another alternative for having a book read to you. And of course, it's now that audiobooks are so much more portable, they've got a whole new audience for people who like to listen to them while they're doing their housework, while they're going for a walk, in the car, all those sorts of things. So that's been a real growth market. And you can see that because Audible, you know, is a commercial company now where people are paying money for an audiobook that once upon a time you could get from the library in Vision Australia and not very many other places. We've got a free audiovisual program called Canopy, which has movies and documentaries. It's a streaming service, so you don't need to download anything. You just log into Canopy with your library card and you can watch, I think it's 5 things a month for free, and you just watch them straight onto your own device. And the good news for you, Naomi, if you're interested in, is that you can access any of this stuff with an online membership and you can join up from anywhere in Australia. We've got children's books that read themselves. So a new product called Vox Books, where you turn the pages and there's a little audio button within the cover of the book, and that each page is read aloud as the pages turn. They are also incredibly popular, possibly popular with parents who are sick of reading the same book over and over again to their child, but also good for parents who maybe don't have that much time, don't have English as a first language, don't have very high literacy skills. Their children can still be having that being read to, the repetition, the physical stuff of turning the pages. You know, it's all a very important part of why books are important for learning. Reader pens we have for loan. You might be familiar with these. They look a bit like a rat test, and you run the reader pen over a piece of writing and it will say it out loud. They are a product that's available through the NDIS. They're about $350 each, and we acquired some for the library with the view that people might like to try them out before they spend their precious NDIS money on them, and we found them to be quite popular. They're quite popular at schools. Kids with dyslexia and other sorts of reading issues find them helpful. Also, kids who with struggle with the physical aspects of reading, but they do have to be able to hold the pen, so they're not, they need some physical dexterity. We have one-on-one help. Bookable one-on-one help, which we call our tech support sessions, which means you can come to the library and make an appointment with someone about any tech issue that you're having, and they will try to help you. So it's a bit like the Apple Genius Bar model, except we don't call ourselves geniuses, and we'll help you with more than your Apple products. Sometimes we're only one Google search ahead of the patrons, but we have dedicated staff in every branch, and they will work with you on your device for whatever it is that you want. So we have lots of older people, of course, using this service. I've got a new iPad. I want to use Skype to talk to my grandchildren in another state. How do I do it? How do I get started with this? So it doesn't have to be library related, but it's just helping people to stay connected, because, being digitally connected is so important to participating in the world as it is around us. We have some new technology that we have bought just so people can have a go, and I'll talk about one of those a bit later on. And the last thing I wanted to mention, we call Library in Your Pocket, which is the library app. So if you download the library app, you can do a whole lot of library related things from your phone, including checking out your own books, sending your print jobs to the printer at the library, and seeing whether we hold books based on the ISBN, which is the publisher barcode on the back of the book. So if you're in a bookshop and you see something that you wouldn't mind reading, but you don't necessarily want to buy it, you can just scan the ISBN on the app and it'll tell you if we have it in our collection or not. And then you might decide you want to borrow it rather than pay for it. So that's just some of the things that sort of make up the modern library. All right, but now I'm going to get onto the Dementia Resource Collection and a bit of background about that. So the Dementia Resource Collection was put together by the Brotherhood of St Lawrence, and they were lending it out of a warehouse that they had, I think, near Frankston, and they were finding that it wasn't getting very much use, and they donated it to our library service in 2016. Now, it may be that they tried to donate it to some other more dementia-related organisations that weren't interested. I'm not sure. But anyway, the library service took it on, and it is made up of objects. So it's all things that you can use and hold, touch and feel and talk about. So there's 100 kits. There's actually 101 kits available for loan. And because they're not books, we can't keep them on our standard shelving. So normally when you come into a library, you see something that looks like what's behind Sarah at the moment. You see a rows and rows of books, and you can see everything that's on the shelf, and the spine will tell you what the books are about. But because the Dementia Resource Collection is all housed in plastic kits, then we have to keep them somewhere else behind closed doors. So the catalogue is really important in seeing what's in the Dementia Resource Collection and getting your hands on it. Apart from that, it's just like any other library item. So it's available to anyone who is a member of the library, and everyone can be a member of the library. You need to come in person if you want to borrow physical things. So while you can join online and use all the online collection without ever stepping foot in a library, if you want to actually take something that we own out of the building, you do need to come in and show that you are a real person, but you do not need to live in the 3 local government areas that we look after. The items are available for our standard loan period, which is 3 weeks plus 2 3-week renewals. So if nobody else wants the item that you have out, you can have it for 9 weeks. And we have automatic renewal process. So if you come to the end of your 3 weeks and you haven't returned it and you haven't renewed it and nobody else wants it, it will just roll over for you for another 3 weeks, and that will happen 2 times. And you will get a notice saying it's due for renewal, and then you'll get one saying it's issued out again. And then at the end, you'll get one saying, well, it's due for renewal and you need to bring it back. So the collection is held in the Realm Library, but you can collect it from anywhere. So if you live or work in Lilydale and you would like to get something sent to Lilydale for you, you can request the item and you can say that your pickup location is Lilydale, and we will send the item to Lilydale for you to collect. And so because of that, because it's kept behind closed doors and because it's only kept at one location, then you really need to be looking at the catalogue to see what we've got and how to get it. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. So I hope this isn't too basic, but I know library systems and library catalogues can be a bit confusing for people. So I thought I'd just take you through the steps. If you go to our website, where do you go? What do you do to see these items? So the first thing you have to do is choose to search the catalogue. So I've circled that with a blue circle of the 9, top level things that people want to do on our website. And when you get into our catalogue, the easiest way to find these items, I think, is to do an advanced search, which means you need to choose that advanced search option from the search screen. So that will make your search much more focused. Because we're only looking at 100 items amongst 350,000 items that we hold in the library, plus all the things that we also have catalogued. So we're looking at a very tiny section of our collection. And if we can tell the catalogue we only want to look at this section, we'll have a much more productive search. So there's a few ways that you can do it. I think this is the simplest because you just go to collection, and when you scroll through the long alphabetical list of all the different collections that we have in the library, you'll see dementia is one of them. So that's pretty straightforward. We're only looking at stuff in the dementia collection. And then it'll just show you everything that we have. So this is the 101 records. So we've just started photographing these items so that the catalogue is much more meaningful when you're searching. So you can hopefully see 3 examples of items that we've recently photographed here. And you'll see that some of the kits are just one thing, like the abacus. And some of them are sort of one thing made up of a few different components, like the 10-pin bowling activity. But some of them are kits that have been put together by material that has been bought from other places, like the Aboriginal reminiscencing kit. And everything has a subtitle or a sub-collection you'll see that says dementia resource. So if you don't want to search the way I suggested, you could just type dementia resource and you'll find everything that has dementia resource in the collection, but you will also find all these 100 items. So there's a few different paths that you can take. And then hopefully you can see that on these entries, there's the first one that says place a reservation. So if you can already see what you want, you can just go ahead and hold it there. And if you want to find out a bit more about it, like perhaps particularly that Aboriginal reminiscing kit, I would think I want to know what's in there before I'm launching down that path. You just click on the blue text, which is the title, and that will take you into the full record, and the full record will tell you exactly what's inside every box. So I chose the abacus activity kit for us to look at the full record because I thought the other ones were too complicated. But you'll see, librarians love to describe everything in minute detail. So it'll tell you, what its size is and what's exactly in it. And it'll give you some other subject headings that'll tell you the kinds of things that are there. And then you'll see you get the button that says place a reservation. So if that's what you want, even if you're inside the library at Realm, this is still the best way to do it. So put a hold on that and get it linked to your card. Okay, so that's really the end of the dementia resource collection. Like I said, there's 100 items, and I have sent a list of the topics that are covered by that 100 items to Elizabeth and Sarah. So they will probably share that, I'm thinking, at some stage. Yes, I see nodding. So if you want to have a bit more detail about what's in the kits before you plow into the catalogue yourself, you can. Or I would recommend just looking at the catalogue, looking at the pictures, and that will give you, much more of an idea about what's in the kits and how you might be able to use them. And then some of the other things that I just wanted to mention outside of the dementia resource collection are the new text. So the reader pens I talked about, and if you haven't seen them, this is what they look like. So you just scroll them over a page of text and it will read out to you. You can choose the accent that you want. It will also give you definitions. So it's got dictionaries loaded in it. So if you get to a word that you don't know, you can change it to the dictionary setting and you won't get that word. You'll get the meaning of the word. So it's quite a useful reading aid. And the other piece of new tech that we have that we bought for children, but we found has had like lots of take up with adults, is the virtual reality headsets. And I don't know if any of you have played around with virtual reality in your work. Yes. But we have had, quite good take up from running virtual reality sessions for seniors. And we actually had a very moving story where we were running a session in one of our branches, and a patron who was a regular borrower and who had dementia and knew that he had dementia, he didn't come to the session, but he came up afterwards and asked if he could just have a go at the headset. And so he put it on, and it was set up with a view around a place in Scotland. And when he took the headset off, he was very touched because that was a place he'd actually been to, but that the memory of going to that place was in the part of his memories that he had lost since he got his dementia. So he didn't remember that he'd been there, but when he saw it and it felt like he was there, he was, was able to remember that he'd had that experience. So I feel like, VR is probably in its infancy and it's going to go to all sorts of places that we can't imagine at the moment. But we do have some VR headsets and we do run a few, VR activities in the libraries. We don't have any for loan at the moment, but maybe one day when the price comes down. And this is just back to the digital collection again. So a little bit more detail about all the things that we have that are not physical. And the thing to remember about the digital collection, and this is the same at all public libraries, not just at our library, is that we buy them from different providers and they run on their own platforms. So if we're buying a book, it doesn't matter if it's published by Penguin Random House or the University of Melbourne Press. We just buy the books in and put them on the shelf and they're all there together. But with the ebooks, if we buy them from the company called Libby, you can only read those books on the Libby platform. And if we buy them from an Australian company called BorrowBox, you can only read their books on the BorrowBox app. So it's a different model to access information compared to the sort of just one big general library service that we're used to with print. And libraries across Australia will probably have one or both of these providers. BorrowBox is Australian, so they have a lot of content that we want here, but they're comparatively small. Libby is a big American company. They have thousands, probably millions of books to choose from, but only some of them are going to be of interest to people who are reading here. And most Australian public libraries are choosing to buy their books from these two providers. There are some others as well, but I think these are two major ones. And then the app. So if you're using the library, I would really recommend that you download the app, put it on your phone. You can manage all your own account from the app. You can, if you're in one of the libraries and you don't want to queue up for the self-check machine, you can actually just scan out your own books through the app. You've got to be in the library or close by. I have been known to do it from the car when I run out from a meeting with a book in my bag and then think, oh, I didn't actually check that out. Okay, I'll better do it now with my phone. You can book things. So you can book rooms. We've got rooms for meeting or for study. You can book a PC. You can send your print job to the library and you've got 24 hours to come in and release it. So it'll be sitting in a queue as part of a printer. And then when you scan your card, your print job will come to the top and then you have to pay for printing in the library. So you need to pay for it and then it will print out. But you don't have to actually be there logged into the library to do it. And then, as I said, we've got the ISBN scanning. So you can find out what the library holds from a book that you might encounter somewhere else, at your friend's house or, like I said, at a bookshop. So that's probably it for me for sort of library news and the Dementia Resource Collection. But is there anything that people would like to ask based on that?
Thanks, Sarah. Any questions?
Sarah, if we've got a little bit of time, I wonder whether you'd be able to look up the Dementia collection in live and we could actually have a look through it. Would that be possible?
I think so. Let's see.
Sorry if I've
Oh, no, I don't want to
the
leave the
tech
meeting.
here.
What am I doing? Don't do that. Okay, I'll stop sharing. I'll get the catalogue up on my screen and then we can have a look. How's that?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see what other items are in it.
I just had a comment while you're looking, Sarah.
Yes.
I think it's great that you can automatically renew the borrow, so that if someone does have, some cognitive impairment or, they might be living on their own and just forget, or even me, I forget things like this all the time. I have to make a note for myself in my reminders to return books. I really like that it automatically renews.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, lots of things that we do in libraries were based on, the old card catalogue system, manual systems of trying to track loans and find out where things are. And once computers came in, that sort of didn't really become that important anymore, because you can find out where things are at the touch of a button. So yeah, I think a service like that is really good.
Sorry, Sarah.
Yes.
I missed, part of your presentation because I have to answer a phone call. I just want to know, like, if I want to borrow, from the Dementia, resource collection, so I need to have the library card, for the local library. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And
So
then, I can go to the local library and just, search online, the dementia resource, collection, and then, I can find, what I want.
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's
Thanks.
So that's the Your Library service. So we used to be Eastern Regional Library. So the
Eastern region.
Yes. So you know the library service. So you just need a membership with our library service, and you can borrow from this collection.
Okay, good.
Okay, so you can see that I took my slide from the very start of the list. Oh, hang on, I'm not sharing. What am I doing? You can't see that yet. Okay, so there's 100. Oh no, it shows me 100. There's actually 101 items, I think, and it's alphabetical. It's defaulted to alphabetical, but you can change it to the most recent stuff. So if you're using the collection frequently, you might want to see anything new at the top. You can search by author. Series number is not really all that helpful. I mean, one of the things that you're seeing is because, this catalogue is set up for books, all the default things really are around books, publication date and stuff like that, which doesn't really relate to this. So,
So that accountant's reminiscing kit, for instance, what would
what's
be
in
in
it?
there? Yeah.
Okay. So it's got an adding machine, a telephone, an accountant's ledger book, something that's called a read a bit / talk a bit booklet, more telephones, or maybe it's a book on telephones, a stapler, a box of staples, a rubber, a magnetic peg note, rubber bands, paper clips, a little reading lamp, an invoice statement book, a multi-size sticky notes, an address book, and a calculator.
Brilliant.
So do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah, I do.
Sarah, what happens if they use the post-it notes and things and it comes back like, what do we, do they?
Nothing really. Just let the person at the desk know that the sticky notes have been used, and I think they'll probably, if the whole of the sticky notes are gone, then someone will have to make a decision about whether the sticky notes are integral to this kit, or will we just take them off the description and let it go out with the telephones. And I feel it's the calculator and the adding machine and the paper clips are perhaps more important than sticky notes.
Yeah.
And never having been an accountant, I'm not sure what's important, but I feel like sticky notes not the biggest thing. We're really keen for this collection to be used. It's been a bit hidden for some of the reasons that I described, that you can't really see it. We also found in the past that we had some institutions who wanted to borrow it, but because they worked in bulk, they kind of worked through the collection in no time. And then they're like, well, what else have you got? And we're like, well, nothing. So I think in some ways, perhaps it works better for people who are individual carers. But I guess it would very much depend on, what you're trying to do and whether having something new is important, or actually just having something that you can bring out on a regular basis is important. I don't know enough about, your area, but you obviously do. Or we try and find something else. We do have 2 robotic animals in the collection. I can see if I can find them. They are quite new. You can see here there's some toys, or some, puppets. So Australian animals plush toys and Australian animals puppets. So this is what the records used to look like before we started photography project. So you can see it's really not helpful. So getting the images up, I think, is, you know, giving you a much better idea of what you're getting. And it's not like you open the box and it's a complete surprise. So we've got a robotic dog and a robotic cat. Wonder what they're actually called. Doesn't look like they're called cat.
Sarah, could I ask a question while you're searching, if that's
Sure.
not too much at once? Does there have to be a diagnosis of dementia, or could somebody who has a disability or anybody come in and borrow these resources?
Anybody can borrow them. There's no criteria for who can use them. So they could be
That's
used
great.
for all sorts of things.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll just do another search if you don't mind, Sarah. I'll see if I can find it. Oh, now I'm just in the general catalogue. 10 things. Oh, we haven't got a photo of our golden pup, but I can assure you he's incredibly cute and he moves his head. He, you know, wobbles around. So, yes, the dog and the cat are really lots of fun.
Yeah, that's great. Sarah, are you
Amazing.
oh, sorry.
No.
Someone else? I had another question, Sarah, about general library services, I suppose, from
Yep.
the lens of people living with dementia. I know I'm going back a couple of years pre-COVID. There used to be sessions held in the library, sort of education sessions or anything really, maybe in some of the private rooms, particularly at Realm. I know I attended a couple of things there where you could book out the room and sessions were running on various topics. Is that still happening? Are there still any either dementia specific or kind of niche groups of people where there's something happening in the library that we could promote or market?
Yes, there are. So, but not necessarily all the time. So we've had, you know, usually we would work with another organisation if we were going to do something, you know, specific for dementia. So somebody else would have come along and said, we want to run this program. Can we run it in the library? Then we would be hosting it, providing the rooms, advertising, you know, doing that sort of public, you know, opening. We've got the big front door, but what we don't have is the subject expertise in all these areas. So we're always looking for people to work with so we can provide, you know, a public venue and an accessible venue that people know about, and other people can provide the content. So, you know, yes, but it's not necessarily all the time. So we put out a booklet of events every season. So we're about halfway through our autumn booklet and we list everything that we're doing in all the libraries in that booklet. So it's quite extensive. In fact, we can have a quick look at it because it's on our front page. Here it is. What's on? What's on in autumn? And then you just, oh, there's a welcome from me. And then you just flick through and it'll tell you all the different things that are happening in all the different libraries. And it's 80 pages long for March, April, May. So you can see there's lots of stuff, but that is spread out over the whole 14 locations.
Yeah, great. It sort of has prompted me to think, Sarah, maybe, and anyone else here, if we wanted to put something on, it would be great to work with you and maybe host something at the library where, I don't know if there's an option of showcasing some of your resources, talking about, you know, dementia education and what's available. Might be good.
Yes, I think that could be great. And we could do something just with your network. We could incorporate some partners from one of the councils. They're always, you know, keen to do work in that area. I think, you know, everything that we do around carers indicates that there's lots of people with caring responsibilities who are not particularly clued into the services that they could be using because they're just totally consumed with their caring responsibilities. So that's always a you know, an avenue I think that we're trying to help people. You know, we're not the answer to their problems, but we can provide them a pathway to something that will be an answer to their I shouldn't say problems, but, you know, issues.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely part of our library role, is to connect people with the information. It used to be information. It still is information that they need, but that information might be coming in a variety of forms. It's not just coming out of a book.
Yeah, thank you.
Sarah, I just had a question. I mean, it's amazing what you've got on offer there, and obviously would be really helpful to people living with dementia and care partners. Do you have like a resource section of books about dementia at any of the libraries? I know I visited Kiama Library a few years ago, and they're like a dementia-friendly community.
Oh, yes.
And they had a whole sort of couple of shelves full of, you know, books that carers or people living with dementia could borrow. And I was wondering if, you know, that has happened at your library as a result of this.
No, I'd have to say no, short answer. So we have our collection broken up into sort of subjects in the non-fiction area. So we have a health collection, and it has all sorts of things about health and all sorts of aspects of your physical and mental well-being. But yeah, no, we haven't gone down that path. But we are, you know, one of our councils has been accredited as being dementia friendly, and they have started talking to us about what that might look like in the library and what we might be able to do. I mean, that's a, you know, big piece of work, but it is something that we've started to, at least, you know, popped up on the horizon. Yes.
Also, I was just really curious if that was all donated by the Brotherhood of St. Lawrence. Was it someone from there that put it all together, or do you know the history of
I
the
don't really
collection?
know the history. It was before I came to work here. I assume it was someone from there who put it together, but I'm really not sure.
Yeah, it's an amazing lot of work.
Yes, it's an amazing lot of work. Yes.
Any other questions or comments for Sarah?
I just wanted to say that even though I've known about the collection, it's certainly worth being reminded every now and again that these things exist. I will now, in my Friday email, promote it to our carers again with some screenshots and remind them that they can all, because I think you're right, it is better used one-on-one with family carers or one-on-one in a group situation, because a whole group couldn't share obviously the one telephone and the but yeah, I'll certainly remind our readership on Friday that the collection exists.
Yeah. And maybe something that we could do together in the future would be for people from your network to demonstrate to carers how you could use the kit.
Yeah, yep.
So that is more, you know, instead of just opening the box and like, oh, what do I do now? It's like, you know, you could add that, you know, skill and expertise about.
Yeah, I think that's a great
making it
idea.
effective.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll talk offline.
Sure.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for
That's
asking me,
fabulous.
and I hope that you found it helpful.
Absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sarah.
Thank you very much.